Hey guys, IcyCat here again. There's lots of ways to keep tabs on enemies in the newest Rainbow Six, from heartbeat sensors to remote control drones to camera systems. We've already talked about the heartbeat sensor in an earlier episode, and we'll touch on the updated version of it briefly here, but the real focus of this episode of In Depth is on surveillance cameras and how to use them. Keeping an eye out for the enemy and letting your team know what's going on is an absolutely critical component of the next Rainbow Six game. The intel you give your team can make all the difference between a win and a loss. Each side has their own version of operational surveillance. For the attackers, there's the remote control camera drone. It's automatically deployed on the preparation phase, so the attacker's team can scout out where the defenders are holed up. It's got the ability to perform small jumps, and each one comes with a short 4 to 5 second cooldown before it can jump again, meaning you can't go crazy with hopping around. Mostly, this ability is used to clear debris or other obstacles in the drone's way, but it can also be useful to get on top of things like desks or other objects of about waist height. On occasion, it can also be useful to dodge when one of the defenders tried to shoot the drone, because they definitely will when they see it. By staying still or underneath things, it's not too hard to avoid detection, but when you zip around, you'll attract attention, and then the lead starts flying. If you're one of the defenders, you'll want to take down the drone as fast as you can, as it'll give away all kinds of information. Once an attacker spots a player, their operator's identity is known to the other team and placed on the HUD. This gives them advance warning as to the kinds of defenses that they'll be running into, and it could cause them to change their strategy accordingly. If the objective location is spotted, then that becomes a permanently placed icon for the attackers to see, whereas if the location isn't found, the attackers will have to go in blind. During the alpha, the drones spawned from the same position that the operatives would. This had the unfortunate side effect of showing the defenders where the attackers would be coming from a minute later, when a swarm of drones all came through the same door. This has since been addressed, as each drone starts the round for the preparation phase in a random place on the map's exterior. This not only hides the attacking team's spawn point, but also gives the attackers more spread out coverage in exploring the structure. Any target spotted with the drone can be scanned and tagged with a red label for the team to see. This tag only lasts as long as you're actively monitoring the camera. If you back out of the camera for any reason, the tag instantly disappears. The tag is also lost if line of sight is broken or the distance to target becomes too great. It takes several seconds to achieve the tag and can be easy to lose the target while doing so. The trade-off is that you can maintain a tag on an unsuspecting target, but you have to remain in camera to do it, denying your team an active operator on the field and leaving you vulnerable and unable to react to anybody that discovers you while you're viewing the camera feed. As long as you're alive and your drone hasn't been destroyed, you can go back into it wherever it was left and resume full control with the press of a button. Each operator can throw out 2 camera drones, so if you lose one, you still have another. Once you die, you can view your last drone's view or any other player camera drone, but you won't be able to assume control of it. You can continue to relay information to your team using these cameras though, and astute players can make intentional drone drops in strategically valuable places, so players who are no longer alive can support the team with intel. As a defender, you have a whole host of tricks up your sleeve to stop the drones. The most direct is to simply shoot. One hit is all it takes to destroy them. Another is Mute's Jammer. Any drone that gets near one will get a scrambled view. Get too close to the center of the jamming signal and your drone gets fried, rendering it completely unusable. Yet another tactic is to use Bandit's electrified barbed wire. Any drone coming in contact with an electrified surface will instantly be shorted out and destroyed. By placing these devices in front of vent openings or in doorways or stairwells, you can create barriers that not only block, but also destroy the camera drones if they try to enter. If done right away in the beginning of a round before barriers are placed, it's quite possible to prevent attackers from ever getting any specific intel on your location until they find you the old-fashioned way. The defenders may not have deployable drones, but they do have access to a perimeter and an interior surveillance system. This network of cameras is a fixed pivot point, but can be panned and tilted to try to follow enemies. The ones outside are usually placed in such a way as to capture more than one vantage of the exterior and offers a very wide field of view. The interior cameras seem to follow the convention of 1 camera per floor of interior space, and likewise seem to be placed in areas that cover common use. These cameras are always in the same positions, so once the attackers memorize them, they can just take them out as they advance. Just like the drones, a single shot is all it takes to bring a camera offline. Also, similar to the drones, the cameras can scan and tag and come with all the same drawbacks to doing so. If you're actively using one, then you're not able to respond to your environment while you're viewing the camera feed and your team is down a gun. The trade-off of intelligence versus combat effectiveness is one you and your team will have to make no matter which side of the coin you're on. Upon player death, defenders can view and continue to feed information to their team using the camera network. Attackers need to make sure they take cameras out as much as possible to deny the defenders this advantage. Some may feel like the tag and scan system is too powerful, but if you see how many ways there are to counter cameras on either side and the vulnerabilities to doing so, there's a pretty powerful counter-strategy at play here. Yeah, they can tag, but you can easily break line of sight. Sometimes you can see them visually, but they're simply out of range for the scan. Sure, drones can find and mark your position, but you can deploy defenses to neutralize them before that even happens. Any camera on either side can simply be shot, and using them while still alive leaves your team down a man and keeps you vulnerable to being shot while you do so. That leaves the ability to use them even after you've died. Is this too powerful? I don't think so. It provides a great way for dead teammates to continue to passively support the team and fills the time for that player who may now have to wait 2 or 3 or even 4 minutes for the round to end. The challenge of a one-life mode can be frustrating to those who die early and have nothing to do until a new round begins. I prefer to think of it as, rather than an operator speaking from beyond the grave, that the player stepped into the role of a Rainbow support analyst once his operator actually died. Indeed, there's going to be players who may not have lots of shooting skill, but will contribute to the team wins just by being intelligence operatives. Even if you're not very good with fast reflexes or dead-eye accuracy, you can still contribute toward the win. It was suggested that the tag might perhaps be a ping instead, which would fade after 3 to 5 seconds and then need to be rescanned to get another one. I can see why some people might prefer that it gets nerfed this way, but I'm fine with it either way it goes. One thing that I think would be really beneficial would be if there were something like camera-specific spawn points for the defender's camera systems. Right now, attackers can memorize the positions of the defender's cameras and blow them away as they roll into the building. Yet their cameras can be thrown out and maneuvered in ways that the defenders can't predict. If each camera had even 2 possible spawn positions, and then they each spawned randomly in one of their 2 possible locations, the attackers wouldn't automatically know where every camera is, only where they'd likely to be. That'd be nice if they could get that implemented. Real briefly, I wanted to also touch base on Pulse's heartbeat sensor, as this thing gets a lot of flack. It was definitely overpowered in the alpha by all accounts, and it's since been nerfed several times. Its range is now short enough that you can only scan about 10 meters, which gives you the distance to cover about a room or maybe a room in a hallway before you run out of range. It's also been given a 3 to 4 second initialization before you can actually scan with it. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but it manages to feel like forever while you're waiting to use the thing in-game. I think a better way to deal with it is to have an operative that can counter it. Although footage hasn't been shown yet, it's been revealed that one of the GSG-9 operatives, IQ, has an electronics detector that can show where electronic traps and gadgets are. But what if IQ could also detect pulse whenever the heartbeat sensor was actually in use? That would give a counter ability to balance things out a little bit. Alternatively, you could also allow false heartbeat pucks like Rainbow Six Raven Shield used as a secondary gadget to fool the heartbeat sensor. If it worked as a good counter in previous Rainbow games, there's no reason it couldn't work here. Though personally, I kind of like the idea of IQ being able to detect the use of the sensor, as it gives more versatility to that operator. What do you guys think of the camera mechanics in Siege? Let us know down below in the comments, or come on over to the subreddit or forums and discuss there. If you like the in-depth series and want to stay up to date on all the latest information on Siege, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.